told by Elder Ephraim of Arizona was that of St. Paul the Simple. He often shared this story with pilgrims because it has great educational value and is relevant to all of us today, especially to those who think they know everything and are not willing to listen to anyone. How many of us would stand at someone's door, waiting for 3 days and nights without food? This is what the hero of our story did, patiently waiting for St. Anthony the Great. Let's start from the beginning. Once upon a time, there was a simple villager named Paul. He was of old age, but he had a pure soul. He was honest and sincere. He lived peacefully with his wife in a village until one day, when he returned from the fields, he saw his wife with another man. He didn't get angry, nor did he shout. He simply said calmly, "You two take care of things here. I'm leaving to become a monk." Without a second thought, he left everything behind and went to find St. Anthony, the great ascetic. He knocked on the door of his cell in the desert, and the saint asked, "What do you want here, grandfather?" St. Paul, being very old, carried even more weight in his struggles, as we will see in the following. The elderly Paul replied, "I came to become a monk." St. Anthony looked at him in surprise. "At your age? Why don't you go to a community with younger monks who can help you? I am old, and so are you. What will we do here? How will we serve each other?" But Paul replied decisively, "I'm not leaving. I'll stay here." St. Anthony tried to send him away. He closed the door and remained inside his cell for 3 days. When he came out, he saw the elderly man still waiting. "You're still here?" he asked. "Yes, and I'll die here if you don't accept me." "I'm testing your hardness of heart," Paul responded, with a touch of humor. St. Anthony insisted that someone of his age could not become a monk. But Paul replied simply, "I can. Why can't I?" St. Anthony said, "We monks read the scriptures." "I will read too," replied Paul. "We pray and chant," the saint continued. "I can do that too," answered Paul, with simplicity and certainty. Finally, St. Anthony accepted him. Together, they began their spiritual journey. At mealtime, St. Anthony gave Paul 2 pieces of bread, keeping only one for himself. After praying, they sat down to eat. Then, the simple elder asked the saint why he had given him 2 pieces of bread while keeping only one for himself. "I am a monk, and you are not yet a monk," St. Anthony replied. But Paul answered, "Since I will become a monk, I'll eat 1 piece of bread too." Thus he began his spiritual struggle with great zeal. This simple old man, with his pure heart, surpassed many younger monks in effort and enthusiasm. Seeing his humility, God granted him great grace. He was able to cast out demons, even the most powerful ones, the leaders of demons. One time, they brought a demon-possessed person to St. Anthony. The saint sent them to Paul the Simple. Paul prayed, but the demon did not leave. Then Paul climbed onto a rock and began to pray under the scorching sun. The sun was burning like a furnace, but he stood there with his hands raised. The heat was so intense, as if it were baking dough to make bread. But Paul, with faith, said, "By Jesus, I will not come down from here until you leave." At that moment, instead of Paul being burned by the sun, the demon inside the man was burning. It cried out, "I'm leaving, old man. I'm leaving. Your humility is burning me." And the demon left. God had justified him. Some wondered why the demon didn't leave immediately. The reason was that earlier, Paul had challenged St. Anthony when the saint told him to cast out the demon. Paul had said, "Why don't you cast out the demon yourself, elder, instead of sending me?" This small argument had delayed the miracle. But because Paul's heart was pure, without malice or pride, God listened to his prayer. From then on, just by seeing him, demons would flee in fear. Such was the power of simplicity and the purity of his soul. St. Paul the Simple became so beautiful in his soul and full of grace because he embraced simplicity and held no grudges against anyone. When Elder Ephraim of Arizona told this story, he emphasized that God especially loves pure souls, those who do not hold on to malice, pride, or resentment. A pure soul is the dwelling place of Christ and leads to his kingdom. As Elder Ephraim used to say, we should take care to cleanse our souls through good deeds, humility, and forgiveness. We must avoid sin and ask for God's grace. For just as a clean house belongs to the pure, so too does the pure soul belong to the kingdom of heaven. Hell is for those who prefer the filth of the soul, passions, and darkness. But Christ wants to purify us all and unite us with Him. All we need to do is pray to the Lord and strive to acquire a pure soul, just like that of St. Paul the Simple. As the 50th Psalm says, "Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a steadfast spirit within me."